Guitar legend Howard Roberts mentioned something valuable to guitar players back in the 1960s. It was that to be a great guitarist, you need to be both versatile and innovative. Now, these traits in a musician will create influence, and he certainly had that. He was one of the first call guitar studio musicians in Los Angeles in the 1960s, playing on over 5,000 recordings. I got a chance to meet him in 1991, and I quickly learned from listening to him speak that when it came to practicing guitar, there were things I had no idea about. So in this episode of the Guitar Blog Insider, I'm going to discuss things I wish someone had told me about playing guitar when I first started. You know, a lot of guitar players out there, they start out by just kicking the can down the road when it comes to practicing. And there's a lot of struggling that happens through some of these easy guitar methods that get purchased. And then, you know, if there's a few guitar licks that maybe get picked up every few years from learning the odd song here and there. But oftentimes, many years have to go by before the guitarist gets serious and seeks out a much more comprehensive guitar approach. Well, these days, YouTube is the guitar teacher of choice. It's a flood of guitar methods and instructional material on the website. There's hundreds of teachers, there's ideas being taught on songs, describing licks, there's enough lessons about the minor pentatonic that if you were to write them all down, it would probably sink a battleship. And the worst part is, with the severe drop in ad revenue for YouTube creators over the last few years, the YouTube videos have turned into just a wash of clickbait merchants interested in just having you watch even their short 1-2 minute video to get the click-through revenue, and they're not so concerned about teaching you guitar. It's really just giving you some kind of information, maybe even something as a joke that you can have a few laughs at. So in this day and age, how can you learn the guitar properly? Well, I'm convinced that it still comes down to some of the old methods that I like to call just looking and focusing towards excellence and doing it in a very concise way. And I believe it needs to involve two simultaneous directions of study happening at the same time. One direction is having a proper step-by-step curriculum, a chapter-by-chapter approach that guides the student through material in a very orderly manner and in a very orderly sequence of events, giving you the material that you need one step at a time and building upon that material so you become very well educated. So that's one path. But there's another one that should run along with that, and the other side is what we'll just call elective material. Now, this can be random topics, but they should be based upon exposure to guitar playing systems and terms, technique, advanced musical topics, and theory. So you begin hearing a lot of the terminology, and as you're going through the electives and compared to the material that you're getting in the real chapter by chapter sense, you start putting the picture together of how all these ideas musically and from guitar theory, guitar technique, how they all mix and blend together, and you can form a very solid foundation as a guitarist that way. Now, I've used this type of an approach for over 20 years with all my private students here at Creative Guitar Studio. And what I find is so helpful about this type of training method is that on one hand, we're learning our scales and basic theory, notes on the neck, chords, music reading, all that good musical stuff. And on the other hand, we get exposed to different kinds of terms, theoretical topics you may not get right away, techniques that are often even far beyond the current skill level of the student, but when they practice them, they can usually get pretty decent at them. So, you know, the big picture that gets formed for the player is that they'll get the basic instructional text, but they also have the chance to plunge into more complicated material. And this tends to make all the difference in the world to a guitar student because they have opportunities to learn methods and techniques across two levels of musical training. There is the strong academic side and another side that's built more upon exposure to topics that run through different boundaries of technique, theory, and musical styles. The really great and inspiring guitar players that I've met through the years all seem to have one thing in common, common, and that is a big appetite for learning new guitar and musical ideas. And the learning they involve themselves with will happen across so many topics and song styles. It's pretty crazy. What seems to happen with this type of approach is that the guitarist gets much faster progress, oftentimes progress on a weekly basis as compared to other players who might perhaps find progress occurring more on just a monthly basis or even on a semi-annual basis. Music is a round-the-clock activity for these kinds of people. When you live your musical life this way, you'll start to be able to do things that most players find impossible, like just listening to a song on the radio and then being able to just grab the guitar and quickly learn to play it. With this cross-learning method, you'll begin to start seeing the guitar neck in your mind when you hear songs and be able to directly associate the sound with the way you see the guitar in your mind. When you become used to the names of the essential music theory concepts, what they mean, and how they're used and applied, you become a musician rather than a guitarist. So you know music theory, and the concepts of music, even when the guitar is packed away in the case in the corner of the room. You see your hands move on the neck, but you also know the terms associated to what they're doing, and you can hear the sound in your head as your fingers are making them. You're very clear, in other words, about everything you're doing. Plus, you can get better and better at remembering musical ideas. It's phenomenal. You can write a song one evening, wake up the next day, and it'll still be clear in your mind. All the sounds and all the shapes, they connect with you on a very deep level when you know your information well. When you know your patterns and you have the skills to play them and everything, but you also need to understand their meaning as a musician. You can communicate them not only with yourself better that way, but also with others as well. Because there will come a time, if you play guitar long enough, when you're going to meet some really good, well-educated musicians, and you don't want to come across as just some, idiot when you're dealing with them. So while the random YouTube videos can be a lot of fun, they can teach you a few things, and these exercise books that you might pick up here and there also have their place and everything. The really important thing to keep in mind here is that there's a lot of importance to striking an educated balance with material. The academic side and the chapter by chapter approach, where you're really learning the information in a proper and organized way, combined with that elective approach, where you're getting a very comprehensive, one-shot lesson plan on very random topics, sometimes very advanced topics, sometimes really basic stuff. But it's well laid out, and it's an order to it, and it's done properly so that you're not getting any misinformation. So you combine that elective learning with that more academic learning, and you know what? That is really the trick, or what you could call the secret method to playing guitar extremely well. Anyway, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on all this in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, thanks for your time, and I'll catch up with you next week on my other channel for another episode of the Guitar Blog Insider. Hello, I'm Andrew Wasson, the founder of Creative Guitar Studio. Creative Guitar is a professional guitar school that I established 25 years ago after I graduated from Hollywood, California's Musicians Institute. After building a successful local school, I decided to branch out to having online courses as well. So back in 2008, I decided to take Creative Guitar onto the internet and offer my guitar methods through both YouTube and on my website. Since then, I've had over 150,000 guitar players from over 100 countries take part in my online courses. And the courses have only become better, with the material having grown so much since then. Creative Guitar has become one of the best ways available for guitar players to reach their playing goals. So click on the Join Now button below and sign up for your free membership. That free membership will allow you to view all the free members area videos, download certain handouts, watch samples of each course, and also purchase individual products. From there, you can take things a step further by signing up for a basic or premium membership package for as little as $14.95 a month. So click on the Join Now button and start taking advantage of everything the website has to offer.